Persona 5 Tactica is right around the corner, and yet I hear nobody talking about it. Why is that? And when I say right around the corner, I mean it is literally this week of the time of recording, and if this video goes out on time, tomorrow. / like, technically 10 hours from now, because midnight. But I hear absolutely no one talking about it. Well, not no one. There are the occasional people who mention it. But it's not really addressed at all, even within the Megaten space. And I think there are a few reasons for that. So let's get straight into it. Possibility number one is just its timing, both in announcement and release. So let's start with announcement timing, because that is easily, I think, the biggest contender and most likely reason as to why. Now, you may be wondering what I mean by that, but the genuine answer is it got announced at a really busy time. Obviously, it was announced in June, which is already a really busy month for gaming, since that's formerly where E3 took place. Now, while E3 is likely gone forever, a lot of gaming companies still decide to do their announcements then. Partly because that's just what we're used to, and honestly, it's a really good time to announce your holiday titles. So on top of the trailer for the game accidentally going up a few days early, and it already being announced alongside a ton of other games in its own presentation, which was part of a Microsoft one, it also had to deal with Sony and Nintendo's announcements, which were both big. And it didn't only have competition from the other three companies, but it had competition within Persona itself. This year has already just been really busy with Persona in general, with the fact that Persona 5X exists, and also stuff that really should have happened during the 25th anniversary, like the limited run collector editions for Persona 3 and 4, which, well, they look fantastic, but it also shared announcements back to back with two other games from Atlus. Metaphor, which looks really cool, and I'm really excited to play next year if it releases then. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed. And, well, it is a new Megaten game, which is immediately more exciting than a spin-off of a Megaten game, because it looks really fun. This isn't a video about it, but it got announced alongside this, which it looks really good and I'm really excited to play. And a remake of one of the most beloved Persona games, in Persona 3 Reload. Which, look, I've made my issues very clear with Persona 3, because I do not think the game has aged that well. But of course, this is a remake, which will hopefully fix that. But genuinely, something I've realized in the Persona space, well, I don't like this game, it is generally seen as one of the best, if not the best, in the series. And the vast majority of people would put it above Persona 4. And there are also a decent chunk of people who would put it above 5. And they announced this right after a full remake of a mainline Persona game that, in my opinion, really needs a remake. And at that, it's only releasing a few months after Persona 5 Tactica. Which, well, it may not sound like much. Yeah, about that. It also means it's sharing advertising with Persona 5 Tactica. Like, genuinely, you could go on to the Persona/Atlus YouTube channel, and 90% of the videos are either trailers for this game or P5T rotating between them. Metaphor's one thing, because it is a different IP, and also a lot further out, but two Persona games releasing right next to each other and sharing advertising with each other due to how close their releases are really hurts the excitement for whichever one is less popular. And, well, it's pretty obvious which one's favored to win. And if you don't believe me on this, you can also look at the Xenoblade franchise. Xenoblade 3's DLC had both Wave 3 and Wave 4 announced in the same Nintendo Direct. Wave 3, which we actually had a good chunk of information on, including a roguelike mode, and Wave 4, which basically all they told us is Shulk and Rex are returning to fight a really awesome foe that is really cool to see elaborated on. And that took all of the focus in the Xenoblade community. Basically what I'm saying is it's the same issue between Persona 5 Tactica and Persona 3 Reload. Which, by the way, I'm not saying one's better than the other, I'm just saying they are definitely hurting each other by proxy of how close their releases are, even though that means as a Persona fan, we're eating good. Also, before we continue, please consider to like and subscribe, it helps with the channel an absolute ton. Thanks. Anyway, let's talk on to the other thing I meant when I said timing. And that being release timing. Yeah, I know, two very similar topics. But I'm going to keep this one quick because I do have a lot less to say, but I think it could also just potentially be it's releasing at a very busy time for gaming. Only a few weeks ago we got both Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2. Like a week prior to that we got WarioWare and a new Sonic game. And not long after, there's literally still so much more to come that's incredibly exciting this year. Basically what I'm saying is people also just might not have the time. Anyway, let's move on to our third and final bullet point. Possibility number 3, Phantom Thief fatigue. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, something I've noticed is a lot of people are getting sick of seeing the Phantom Thieves, the cast of Persona 5. Now look, Persona 5 is my favorite game of all time, and I adore this cast. But I can also see where they're coming from. Because frankly, I really want to move on to Persona 6. I think the best way to put it is, I have a list of video ideas. A lot of them I don't think I'm ever going to make, because a lot of them are very just big tasks or things I really want to make sure I do right. And for the last year, there has literally been one in that list titled, Where the Hell is Persona 6? I just haven't made it because I really want to do it right. Because this is a franchise that matters a lot to me. But the point being, for more than a year, I've literally had a bullet point of videos to make of how it has been a ridiculously long wait with no news if they're even going to make one. And getting sick of a Persona cast isn't actually a first. From what I've heard, since I am relatively newer to the Persona community, a lot of people had the same issue before Persona 5 released with the Persona 4 cast. Because, admittedly, there are an ungodly amount of Persona 4 spin-offs. There are also an ungodly amount of Persona 5 spin-offs. I don't really mind, I love both casts, but I definitely see where it's coming from. And as I said, the thing that's really taking away hype is Persona 3 Reload. And I think that's also playing a part of that. We really don't see the Persona 3 cast that often. I can only name a handful of spin-offs that even have a member of them in, and one of them literally doesn't even have the protagonist. Which, like, for clarification, if you know what game I'm referring to, there's a very good reason as to why the protagonist is not in it. I just won't say because spoilers. Genuinely, I do think it's an incredibly reasonable possibility that people just aren't excited for this game because this is, one, our second Persona 5 spin-off this year, and on top of that, our fourth dedicated Persona 5 spin-off in forms of a game, on top of it already having a spin-off manga and having a crucial role in Persona Q2. And will this next one, I didn't have enough evidence to warrant it being its entire section, so I'm just going to tack it on in the end. So, extra possibility, that being the art style. As I said, don't have enough evidence to warrant this being an entire section, but this was my immediate takeaway when I saw the game, that being its art style looked kinda cheap. It's using something very similar to the Q art style, which is there because those are 3DS games. Instead of just reusing the models we already have from base P5, Royal, and Strikers. However, as I've seen more of this game, I actually really like how the characters are animated. Effectively, while the style may look cheaper, it allows for so much more in terms of how expressive the characters can be. And frankly, I think it works really well. It allows for them to be more expressive and also easier to make out on a highly zoomed out map, which, considering the type of game this is, I think that's a pretty valuable reason. Are you guys excited for it? And if so, did the fact no one's talking about it hurt at all? But before we go, there is a massive announcement I really want to share with you guys. I made a comic. Woo! Phoenix Rising. Join the young summoner May on her adventure around this colorful world, alongside a young boy she picks up along her way. Not only that, though, with a colorful cast of characters that hopefully you'll have a lot of fun seeing. Look, I'm gonna be honest, this is a massive passion project of mine, and I really love it if you guys could go check it out with the link on screen or go to phoenixrisingcomic.com.